Hi, this is Jay Shaffer, and I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to do some basic video editing using Final Cut Pro X. All right, I've downloaded and installed Final Cut Pro X, and I've actually put it down here onto my dock. And if you haven't put it onto your dock at this point, you can probably find it if you go into your main hard drive. And if you scroll down here to the F's, and you can see that we have Final Cut Pro .app here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and double click on Final Cut Pro app to launch it. I have already worked on a couple other projects in Final Cut Pro X, and so when Final Cut Pro X does launch, it's going to launch with those projects open. So I want to go ahead and start a new project when I get this opened up. Okay, well, we can look around the interface here really basically, and this is our event library or a clip library where all of our clips are imported. And here's our main window here, display window, and down here is our timeline. So we're going to go up here to the File menu, and we're going to go ahead and start a new project. And we're going to go ahead and call this project, we'll call this Flip Import. And I'll just put default event, new event 62111. And we're going to go ahead to have this set to set automatically based on the first video clip. So that will set the format of our editing up by the first video clip that we go ahead and import. And here in our audio and render properties, we're just going to leave this as default settings. And so we'll go ahead and hit OK here. And now we can come up here to the File menu. And you see that now in our timeline that we have Flip Import as our active project. And I'm going to come up over here and I'm going to choose Import. And I can go ahead and choose Import Files. And you can see that the keyboard shortcut is Command-Shift-I. Also, I could have used my right mouse button or Control click within the event library. And that would have brought up a contextual menu that would allow me to import files also. So I'm going to go ahead and import some files from, I have an existing folder with some files that were imported from a flip camera, but this would also work if you had your flip camera hooked up to your computer and you would see the flip on the desktop, and so basically it would look pretty much the same. So we're going to go ahead and click on Import Files here. And your flip camera would normally appear as a device here, is if you had just hooked up your flip camera with your footage on it. But we're going to go ahead and grab an already imported folder. So I'm just going to go into my Moab 2011 folder here, and I actually have a Day 4 four-wheel drive, and I have a folder that has the flip camera footage on it. And so within your flip camera folder, you will see a 100 video folder. Okay, you could just go ahead and import that entire folder if you wanted, or you could go ahead and choose individual clips. And so even though I know that two of those clips aren't any good, I'm going to go ahead and click this entire folder to import that. Okay, so we're going to create a new event now. So we kind of did, when we did the new project, we kind of started it up with kind of a placeholder event. And so we're going to go ahead and create a new event here. And we're going to call this event Flip Tutorial. And it's going to go to my external hard drive, and you could of course send it to your main hard drive if you wanted, but I have a little bit more room available to me on my media drive, so I'm going to go ahead and save the project there. Okay, and you'll notice that we've got a bunch of checkboxes down here. We have organizing, which is to copy the files to the Final Cut events folder. And so, yeah, we want to actually go ahead and copy those files over. And we could have import if we had named those folders something that actually meant something other than 100 video, is that importing as keywords is a really good way to kind of organize your footage as you get started with it. Okay, so we're going to actually, this will transcode our media into ProRes format as we edit from the native Flip H.264 format. So this is something that you typically want to do. If you just want to edit right away using that content, and you probably want to have that onto a hard drive rather than just having the flip camera attached, you could uncheck that checkbox and go ahead and just edit the native H.264, which slows down the process a little bit, and in most cases you want to go ahead and create optimized media. And we have some other checkboxes here, that things that nice things that Final Cut Pro X can do for you include analyze for stabilization and rolling shutter, so that it will try to make your footage more smooth, and also it can analyze for balance color, and it can also try to find people within the shots. And it will tell you, organize those shots as shots with people in them. And you could create smart collections after analysis. And again, these are totally optional, and it's just some of the features that are included with Final Cut Pro X. And so I've also clicked here, remove silent channels if we didn't record audio. So I'm going to go ahead and do an import. And you'll see that that is actually imported into my event library, my Flip tutorial here. So we can see we've got Flip tutorial, and we've got my 100 video folder here, and we have our 4 clips listed here. Okay, we can change this view in the clips right down below here. We can have this all as what we call Filmstrip View. So we can scroll down and basically see all of our clips here in the 100 video clip. And or we can come back in here and we can go to more of a list view. Okay, and so this will show us each one of these clips if we want to go through and look at each one of those. Okay, we can also use our scrub bar here, and I'm sure I'm not using the exact proper Apple terminology here, but you can see here that I can scroll through this clip and basically see the playback on it. So we want to have this shot where the truck basically runs over the camera. And so I can go ahead and either drag a selection, so I click down and I drag out a selection here, and that shows me that part of the shot where the truck goes through the runs over the camera. So we're just gonna, and I can drag that selection back, so I can just keep looking at that till I've got that clip trimmed to the approximate places that I want it to go in and out and where I want to use that. And so now we've got what's called the elastic timeline. And so I can actually take this clip and I can just grab it now that I've got a selection there, and I can drag it down onto the timeline. I'll try that one more time. And there we go. There's that clip. Okay. And so we can also use our scrubber bar to go through it here, and we can see that, okay, there we go. And if we want to trim that at this point where the truck is just disappearing here, so I can come to the end of that clip, and I can just kind of drag it over here till, and you can see up in the viewer where you basically are at. And so we're going to come back in here, and we're going to come in a little bit more. there just as the truck is disappearing. Okay, and I can also move this this clip left or right. Okay, so this is actually was the last clip in my sequence here, and I actually want to use a clip before that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to this clip, and I'm going to take a look at it. Okay, and whoops, I dragged out a selection there, and I just meant to scroll through, so you have to be careful about clicking down. Okay, and it basically doesn't look like we have anything usable in this clip. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here we have the truck running over the camera from the front. So I'm just going to drag this out here, the selection, and I can kind of see by the audio waveform here that that's approximately the length that it takes that truck to run over the camera here. And so I could also set an out point here by actually typing the letter O. And I can use some of my traditional trimming controls, so I can also use my left arrow and right arrow to step back frame by frame. So I'm going to come right to the middle of this truck here, and I'm going to mark an out point here. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark an O there. And then I'm going to take this clip, and I want to place it before this clip here on the timeline. So I can do that a couple ways, and one of the easiest way is I can do an insert edit. And so I can come up here to the edit, and I could do an insert edit here, and you can see that the keyboard shortcut is now W for an insert edit. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the W key, and okay, I'm going to make sure I have that clip selected. I'm going to go ahead and hit the W key, and that inserted that clip ahead of the previous clips. And so if I can go ahead and use my J, K, and L keys just like I did in the old Final Cut Pro to act as transport keys. So if I press L, we have the truck coming over the top here. And now what I want to do is I'm going to cut to this shot here as the truck comes over. So we'll see the truck come over forward, and then we'll cut to the reverse of it going over backwards. And so all I have to do to trim this up is I'll come down to this clip, and you'll see that it turns into a little left bracket there. And I'm just going to bring that over there, and my elastic timeline automatically trims that cut. So now, if I go ahead and play through this, I can do that using the space bar. There we go. We've got our truck where it basically drives over our truck and then goes away. And let's say that I wanted to go ahead and I could even put another pass on here, another clip at the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my playhead and just move it to the end of my timeline here. And I'm going to go back up here into my clips, and I'm again going to kind of scrub through this clip here. And you'll see that we have yet another one where the truck goes over the camera here. And this one's kind of a slow, nice four-wheel drive one here. And so we're going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and I can use my I and O key to set an in point and an out point here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit in, and you can see that now that's selected that portion of the clip. And I'm going to just use my scrubber here and to where it just leaves the frame. And I'm going to go ahead and hit out. And so now I've got both my in and my out points here. And now if I want to go ahead and just stick this to the end of the timeline, we have a new handy keyboard shortcut. We just use the E key, E for end. Okay, so now if I go ahead and hit E, that appends this to the end of my timeline. And so now I've got a nice little clip there at the end of the timeline. So now we've got a nice little quick movie. And then if we wanted to go ahead, and if we thought that that perhaps took a little bit too long there, we can go ahead and trim that down. I'll show you how to do that really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my editor here, and you can see now this just turns into a right bracket, which lets me know that I'm trimming this side of the edit here. And you can see that I can go ahead and I can line this up so now you can see both shots, the out point and the in point. So it's this nice little trim window. So I'm just kind of matching these two things up here now. So that it matches about size. So we see the back of the truck and we see the front of the truck. It's about the same in size. Okay, and there we go. And we can call this an edit if we want. Just real quickly, I want to show you a couple other things that we can go ahead and do. Is that we can come over here and we can use we have our tools, our traditional tools that we use in Final Cut Pro. So if we wanted to use the blade tool, for example, and we could hit our B key just like we could in the old Final Cut Pro. So if we wanted to go ahead and cut this clip into two, I could just click down right here, and now that's turned that into two clips. And of course I want to probably return back to the select key then at this point. Then I could highlight that clip, and if I didn't like it, I could go ahead and delete it, or if I wanted to do something else to it, maybe speed it up or slow it down, I could do that also. So this works just like the traditional Final Cut Pro. And so I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just delete this just for the sake of brevity here. Some other new nice features here real quickly as I want to go into is that we have our effects that we can apply to our particular clips here. So we have a bunch of different stylization effects and stuff like this, and all this fun new stuff that's included with Final Cut Pro. And one of these is looks, which is really kind of nice. If you want to go ahead and if we wanted to give this a really hot desert glare feel, is that we could go ahead and highlight this clip here. And I'm looking just at the beginning of it here. I'm going to move my playhead to the beginning of that clip just so we can see it. And so we can kind of preview this effect to see what desert glare looks like. Okay, see how that gives that kind of real gritty, kind of dirty, nice look to it. And so if we like that effect, all we have to do is double click it, and that's applied that to that clip. And you'll see that there's a little orange bar up there, and that tells us that this is rendering in the background. But we can go ahead and at any time we can still see this in action now, and we can see the effect of that effect without it actually being rendered. So this is a big, huge thing for Final Cut Pro X. Okay, one other thing we can do is, let's say we wanted to add a title on the top of this really quickly, is that we have a bunch of preset titles now, a lot more than we had in the previous version of Final Cut Pro. So I'm going to go ahead and use this knockout version of the titler, which is kind of interesting here. I'm going to go ahead and take my title and just drag it over the top there. And so if I drag it over the top here, this adds that over the top of my footage below there, and you'll see that this is actually, this knockout shows through the footage on the title. So if I wanted to use this as kind of a nice little tricky title here, this is kind of, and I'll just trim it here, and you'll see that it's trimmed right to the end of the second clip here. And I'll go ahead and double click on title here, and I'm going to call this Moab. Okay, so I can go over here and I can click on the eye, which is the inspector for this knockout for my text animation here. I've got my text animation highlight here, and I've clicked on the eye, which brings up my information for this, and you can see that it says it's knockout. And so we can take and make this size much bigger here, and we can see this in real time, which is really nice. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this up to maximum size here. And if I wanted to go ahead, and I could go ahead and change my fonts here. And you can see now with the new font browser, is that I can go ahead and click on the fonts here. And I can just scroll down this and see those fonts as they go along. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to choose Impact because it's a big, big font. And I could go ahead and choose bold if we have that as an option here, but we probably don't. Okay. And so now we've got a big Moab, and I'm going to go ahead and stretch this out. Okay, and I'll go ahead back over here, and I'm happy with that. And I'm going to go ahead and shorten that clip out again to just the beginning here. And so now we have sky, and a nice little clip there. Okay, so probably the last step that we want to worry about here is that once you've completed your edit, is that you want to go ahead and export that. And there's a couple ways that we can do that, and one of the nice ways we can do this is that we have our share menu here, and you can see that we've actually got it set up so that in Final Cut Pro X is that you can set this to go out to DVD or to Blu-ray or an Apple device or podcast producer, or you'll see that we have immediate export and upload to YouTube. So it will actually render this out and upload it to YouTube for you, or Facebook, or Vimeo, or if you're a news reporter and you have a CNN iReport account, you can go ahead and send it to CNN for national news. And of course, a lot of times you'll want to go ahead and just do an export movie, which will keep that movie on your hard drive as its resolution that you edited in. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and choose export movie here real quick. And it's going to bring up a couple parameters for me. Okay, and so the quickest and easiest is going to do your current settings. So we could go ahead and save that out as, and this will be ProRes in our case, include video and audio, and open up with the QuickTime 7 app. And so we can go ahead and hit Next. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to just go ahead and call this Flip Tutorial. And save that out. And you can see that moves along at a pretty good clip. No pun intended. Okay, I hope that helps you as a quick start on getting Final Cut Pro X to work for you. So we'll go ahead and watch our short little movie here.